Hello guys, welcome back to narsicloud.com. In today's video, we're going to talk about the concept of API Gateway. So before we dive into API Gateway, let's understand what is the server concept. So what does really server do in day-to-day software, developing the software applications, and where exactly does the server component come into the picture, right? So usually when you see any web applications, any applications that's running in the browser, so that browser will call many servers. So it makes a lot of requests to the servers, and then server will process the request, and depending on the business case, server will process the request, and it will send the information back to the browser. So in this case, there could be many clients, right? So it could be browser, it could be mobiles, it could be any other device, like in the case of IoT. So everywhere server is involved in the backend. So we usually call that as a server, or you would have heard about backend. Some in some situations, database and the server, they combine together, and they call it as a backend, but it's a service layer and then the database layer, right? So today our focus is on the service layer, right? So let's see. So you guys see here, this is the server. So which means this is let's assume that that is one machine, and some software is running there. So that could be developed in any language, right? It could be Spring Boot server, it could be Node.js server, it could be PHP, anything like that. Let's assume something is running here, right? So from the browser, let's say this is a browser, right? And let's say we have some service running here, the information. So we are submitting, let's say we are submitting one form, right? One form here. So we type in all the information. Let's say this is a lot of information, right? And browser eventually has to send that information to server, right? So what server does, it will take that information, it does all the validation, and then it will process that, it will save it to DB, or it does use that information in some other context, depending on the use case, right? And eventually it will send the information back, the response back to the client. This is the traditional, roughly the workflow in any web application, end to end, right? Here, this is the browser, correct? So this is the browser. So this could be any browser. It could also be a mobile client, right? So let's say this is mobile. Assume that this is one of the any device that can communicate to the server, right? Which means something is running here that can make the calls to the other services. Okay, so this is mobile, and this guy makes a call to the server. So if that's the case, let's assume that in today's world everyone has at least one device. They carry at least one device. So it could be one mobile, it could be tablet, right? There are a lot of devices like that. So if all of those devices are going to make calls like this to the server, this server cannot handle a lot of requests like that. So what we do, we would scale this server. So in before cloud, what we used to do, we used to increase this configuration of this mission. For example, we used to do like the big mission or the vertical scaling, right? As we see it's not able to hold, then we keep on increasing like this big missions with a big RAM and processor, all of that. But there is a limit on this, right? We cannot keep on increasing in a vertical scaling way. So what we came up with is, what if we add more missions to it, of same size, but we keep on adding more missions, right? so that all the requests comes, and the request can go to any service, right? Any server that that's running in one of these missions. So that is another way that we came up with, and we call that as a horizontal scaling, right? This is well and good, but every service has to handle all these requests, which is for sure. And let's take an example of so when we make this request, this is a HTTP. It follows HTTP protocol, right? That is a popular protocol that most of the web applications use. There are other protocols that communication happens, like FTP, TCP, IP, SMTP, right? There are a lot of other protocols, but most of the use cases that we deal with in today's world is HTTP or HTTPS. So for HTTP, regularly you have this style, right? If you take an example of RESTful web services, so there we usually go with 4 types of HTTP methods, which is when we want to create something, we go with post. Let's try it here. Post, and then put, and then get, and then delete, and then delete. There is other method also, which is patch. Mostly we deal with these methods. There are a lot of other HTTP methods, but mostly in real time, in day-to-day developing applications, we deal with these methods. So every method has its own use case, but we'll get into those details later. Let's assume that any request, any client that makes this HTTP request, that could be one of these methods. Okay. So let's come back to the single server, right? Single server, this is running here. This is just a software running, right? The software can do some functionality. Let's assume that is the use case. There's a scenario, right? So if I want to make a post call, that means the server should be able to understand what that type of request is. So let's say this is post. You're posting person details. Okay, so this is person endpoint, right? Person endpoint. Let's assume that this is a post. So when I make that request, I'm going to make a REST call, and I send that in the form of HTTP method. So it comes here. Then a service will process that, which means the server is able to understand what type of method it is. So it sees that, okay, it is HTTP post. Okay, so I'll process this, and I'll follow the standards, and I'll create something. I'll send the response back. But for this to be able to understand, this needs to configure, right? This needs to configure these endpoints. So that means this service needs to expose these endpoints like that. Post, put, all these HTTP end methods needs to be exposed, so that clients can call these HTTP methods by using one of these methods, right? By means of HTTP post, put, get, delete, patch, right? So what if you want to scale this to other machine? Then that machine has to also expose these endpoints, right? So wouldn't it be great that okay, we have these worker machines which doesn't have to deal with all of this configuration, all of that, right? So wouldn't it be great if we have one common gateway here, which could take care of all these exposing endpoints? And then so we have let's assume we have post, we have put, we have get like that. Let's assume that this gateway takes care of exposing these endpoints, and it knows how to connect each endpoint to worker software, right? So this could be Lambda. So in cloud world, this could be Lambda. This could be another HTTP endpoint. Okay, so all we have to do is, if there is a common gateway that can take care of scaling to handle all these requests, now what happens is this mobile can directly call this API gateway, and this browser can call this API gateway. This common gateway. So this is robust enough, and it scales as load increases. It handles all of those, and it handles throttling. For example, if you're sending a lot of requests per second, then it knows how to throttle that, and it doesn't bombard these servers with a lot of requests. It will stop here itself, and based on that, it will take care of sending proper response codes. All this HTTP layer is handled by this common gateway, and all these worker machines just needs to deal with business logic. So how easy it is, right? Wouldn't be great if we had that kind of gateway that can take care of all this HTTP level work, and rest of the machines will just deal with business, right? So that's where our API gateway comes into picture. We call that this common gateway, we call that as API gateway in AWS. API gateway. Its responsibilities is to handle all HTTP requests and configure their requests and responses, but depending on error codes, what type of error codes we need to send back to the clients, and throttling, and also caching. For example, if you're fetching some static data, then these servers will respond back, but API gateway will cache that data. So depending on your configuration, we can cache that for some amount of time depending on TTL, and after that it again refetches and caches that, right, when you make the request again. So there are a lot of tons of possibilities that could be utilized using API gateway. So that's where API gateway comes into picture, and which is very useful to handle IoT devices, any clients. We don't have to deal with that scaling problem anymore. So in the serverless technology, it is best in the serverless technology that all you do is you develop your Lambda functions and then integrate those functions to the API gateway. Then all you're doing is writing pure functions with a pure business logic and deploying that. That's all you're doing. So there are a lot of other things that could be done with API gateway. So in our next video, I will go into deep dive into API gateway, configure REST endpoints, and then we'll take it from there. Okay. So quickly, I will show you what it looks like here in AWS. So let's go to API gateway. So it has a few options here, like API gateway, what type of APIs you can create: HTTP API, WebSocket API, REST API, private, and REST API, right? So we will take one example of one of these types, and I will go over what it looks like. Okay. So if you look at the description here, API gateway helps developers to create and manage APIs to backend systems running on Amazon EC2, AWS Lambda, or any publicly accessible web service. With Amazon API Gateway, you can generate custom client SDKs for your APIs to connect your backend systems to mobile, web, and server applications or services, right? So that's what I was saying, right? The concept wise, it takes care of creating and managing APIs, connecting to our backends. That's where our worker machines comes into picture. That could be Amazon EC2 machine, that could be AWS Lambda, that could be any other endpoint which is publicly accessible. Okay, so that's all guys for today. If you like this video, please click on like button, and please do subscribe. We'll meet in our next video and we'll go deep dive into API Gateway. Okay, see you guys, bye.